welcome to another episode of Riding the Reaper. We are here today with my best friend since grade 3, Mr. JT.
How's it?
That actually rhymes. I didn't know that would rhyme.
What the poet.
We've got here today a 2013 1600 Ford Focus.
Let's go now.
She produces 92 kilowatt max power, and we're pushing out about 159 newton meters of torque. So that is the 1600, not the ST. I've had a 1600 myself Focus before the Mustang.
The better shape, obviously.
Yeah, he prefers the shape. Mine was the 2007, and that one I really enjoyed, but it was, compared to the Mustang, a bit of a slouch. So yeah, I really enjoyed the car. It was a really nice ride. Everything was great about it. I loved the shape, but you know, I came from a Cortina Mark V, which was the 2 liter, to a 1600, and now from a 1600 to a V6. So quite a difference in performance and so forth. But we're going to take the car out with the years increasing as well. People don't understand that with the newer technology, 92 kilowatt back then compared to now, or compared to, let's say, 2010 and upwards, it's a whole different beast. The car performs a little different. There's different things that happen engine wise, in terms of fuel pressure and those kinds of things. I mean, carburetor was back in the day, and now we switched over to fuel injection systems and so forth. ECUs changing different things in the motor to make the motor obviously perform better. So yeah, so 92 kilowatts might not sound like a lot, but back in those days it was quite a bit.
And in those days it was just old people, wasn't it?
Yeah, true, and horse and cart, I mean. But yeah, so we're gonna take this car out on the road and see what it's like. Like I said, I'm used to the 2007. A lot has changed since 2007 to this model in 2013. Sitting inside this, it's very comfy. You've got the nice leather interior. You got your dash in front of you with everything exactly where you want it to be. You got your nice center console down here in the middle, and all your little buttons for, let's say, cruise control and speaking and those kinds of things when you're answering Bluetooth calls. You got your CD, your radio, auxiliary, your phone, menu. You got your unlock and lock for your doors. You got your light switch here on the side, which is very similar to the 2007, where it's a turn knob.
That's probably the best feature of the car, 100%.
What's that?
It makes you feel like you're in a spaceship.
Oh, that you're in the spaceship with an old turn knob. And I must say, what I really like about the car so far is this gauge cluster. The gauge cluster is very, it's got the white gauge cluster, or it's got the black background with the white dial. So, and it's got this really nice blue pins or needles, which show you the kilometers per hour and the RPMs and your fuel and your oil pressure and oil temperature. And then we've got your nice climate control here at the bottom, aircon, you know, all the creature features, ABS, ABD, and you've got your window settings here at on the side, on the driver's side door. So first impressions, the car is really well put together. I can't see anything that I don't like. You got your cup holders here, your center console, which you can open. It's nice and deep. Nice little e-brake over here on the side. It's very nicely tucked away, so it's nothing's in the way. The gear knob is right to the top, so you're not straining, your arm's not hanging down low or anything like that. Everything's nicely, it's built very for the driver. It's very driver orientated. I really like the interior so far. This one does come with the leather seats. I know others come with the cloth seats and the cloth interior, but this one with the leather seats really does make a hell of a difference. It's really nice. So here we go, guys. That's the thing I've always noticed about the newer cars. They're so quiet. Like you wonder if it's on or not. The older cars, it sounds like an explosion going off every time you start the car. So
I prefer the explosion though. My ears are not great. I'm like a 45-year-old man.
So the explosion's quite a nice thing in terms of sound, but the quietness when you're on the long roads and those kinds of things, it's quite nice. The loud exhaust notes and stuff kind of get a bit how can I say, irritating, if I want to call it that. So far I'm very impressed. Impressed. Are
you drunk?
I don't know. Maybe I should pull over. Yeah, maybe I should be driving. No, I'm very impressed with the clutch. The clutch is very smooth. I need to get used to the indicators on being on the. Oh wait, I know this road. The indicators being on the right-hand side. I'm used to it being on the left.
Now, if you want, I can just flash this wimpy while we go past it.
And the clutch is really smooth. Gear changes are really smooth.
Yo, that's like child labor over there.
That guy's like using a 7-year-old.
Yo.
I try switching at about 3,000. There's like a log laying in the middle of the road.
Please, I just got this thing back.
This weather made cuck today. Anyway, yeah, she's very responsive, as you would get from these newer cars. The throttle response is very responsive, being a fuel injected vehicle. Yeah, and brakes are quite touchy as well, being the ABS and EBD, so they're quite touchy. But steering as well, steering's very responsive, as you can see. If you guys are picking this up, I'm just shaking the wheel.
Watch me, I'm dropping around like a bobblehead.
Just shaking the wheel, but even if I just nudge it with the hand, you can feel that it's quite responsive. This is a front wheel drive.
Chunky, eh?
It's very chunky, it is. And you know what I love? I love the steering wheel. The steering wheel fits to it. It's got this nice grip to it. I don't know what about it intrigues me this much. It's got this nice little shape, and it just feels perfect. It feels like a race car. It feels like the Momo steering wheels and those things of sorts, almost like an aftermarket kind of a steering wheel. And then I just want to check if this one also has it. Yes, it does. This has a lane changer as well. So I don't know, I haven't driven many newer cars, but the newer cars have lane changers. So
what's a lane changer?
If you just flick it slightly, you don't actually put it all the way down, it'll flash the indicator 3 times,
okay,
so that you can change lane. So if you want to change lane up, you just tap it and it goes 3 times, and then it shows you that you're changing lane. So when you're on the highway, you don't have to actually flip the indicator all the way up
and then flip it down.
And then flip it down.
I've been driving this car now for 3 months and I didn't know that.
Now the 2007 has the same technology, if you want to call it technology, in it. So you just tap it with your fingertip, and it flashes 3 times. It flashes the indicator 3 times to show that you changing lanes. That would be best used, like I'd say, in a highway situation where you're just switching lanes instead of turning completely by a stop or by a robot, where you have to actually keep the flicker or the indicator going up until you've actually changed lanes or turned. So what we're doing right now, this is a 40 roll, and I'm just gonna, oh, that was a branch.
Was it a person?
No, it was a branch. So I'm just gonna put it down and see what she does at 40 roll. 4,000 RPM. Wow, she's nice and responsive, and also very good in stops. She stopped quite nicely. There was no chirping or wheel squealing or anything like that. Not that I put it flat down, but she really did a job where she needed to. I'm really impressed so far. I've got no complaints of the I always try and feel for the brakes and the acceleration and the throttle and the steering response, and also the suspension and the way it feels on the road, and if it's quite clunky or if it's quite and you can feel when you put your foot down, the suspension does its job. It pulls the car down to the ground and creates a nice aerodynamic flow to the car, something that these newer cars like doing, with the shape of the car and the suspension and the ECU all working together, and it really creates a nice driving space for the car, if you want to call it a space. And also what I picked up on the dash is this car will actually give you a how can I say, an indicator to change gears. So this thing will actually tell you when to change up. It'll show a little arrow and it'll show you what gear to change up to. So if you're in third and you need to change up to fourth, it will basically, right at the point when the car reaches optimal RPMs, it'll tell you to change. So right now it's telling me to change to second.
To be deadly honest though, I don't drive according to that, because if you do drive according to that, you will never be going anywhere.
Thank you. I feel exactly the same way. I like to drive a car, especially these newer cars, 3000 RPM, if you're driving, let's say, around town, like a stop-go situation, and then obviously like giving it a bit more in terms of RPMs and throttle when you are a bit freer, where there's not a lot of stop and goes. Because like Jaron said, these ECUs, they tell you to change at a certain RPM and at a certain speed and a certain point, but no, I don't agree with it at all.
Obviously,
actually.
It's got to do with like fuel efficiency.
Yeah,
and all that.
I think it's
a bunch of balls.
I think what it's trying to do is give you the most fuel efficient shifting that it can do, because this car doesn't have any modes like an eco mode or a sport mode or anything like that. So I just think it's like got a balance between an eco mode kind of a situation and trying to get the most performance out of it as well. I must say the ride is extremely smooth. It feels very similar to the 2007's ride. I think anything when you start going into the year 2000, I would say starting at about 2005, the rides feel very similar in terms of comfort and in terms of the way the car feels on the road in respect to the transmission, the way you shift, and the suspension itself as well. The suspension being the main thing in terms of ride comfort and so on.
Remember the suspension on the Mini that I had? Jeez, it was like rock.
it was rough. Yeah, him coming from a Mini Cooper S, so that was that sport suspension that was really rough. It's almost as if you want to compare it to my Mustang suspension, where it's really rough, it's really hard. You feel every little stone, you feel everything on the road. I actually drove a while back, a long time ago, when the 350Z actually came out. I drove a 350Z with one of my other friends. It was his dad's car, and that car is extremely hard. It is a hard ride. It is, you feel we used to try and dodge the little stones on the road because it used to feel it. It used to just knock straight up into your spine.
That could be a little bit of a problem if you're hitting over pedestrians on the side of the road with it.
Yeah, I must say, I'm really impressed with the ride. I'm even impressed with the sound, being such a quiet ride. When you start pushing over the 3000 RPM, I like to keep it 3000. I don't know why, it's just a personal preference of mine.
To be fair, I think I do the same.
Is it? I think it's just that OCD of mine that kicks in sometimes, and I try and shift on 3000, and but when you start going over the 3000 mark, you really start getting that exhaust note, that tone, which is really nice.
Yeah, everything is stock standard on the car.
Yeah, it's a completely stock standard. So the noises that if you guys are hearing, the exhaust notes and so on, this is a completely stock exhaust note, and it sounds really nice, especially for a 1600, where they try not to put on any, how can I say, sport or performance modifications. I must say I'm really impressed. If you guys are really looking into buying a 2013 Ford Focus, I don't think you can go wrong in terms of fuel economy, in terms of ride, in terms of luxury. You have all the creature features as well. You have your Bluetooth, your radio, your CD player, auxiliary cable.
I don't know how all of that stuff works just yet.
It's like a spaceship, eh? You start pushing all these little
if
buttons.
you do get one, make sure you get the manual, because
Ford likes doing all these little. I actually spoke to someone recently. They went from the Mazda 4x4 bakkie to a Ford Ranger, and they said they're not really impressed by the Ford Ranger because it has all these little buttons that you have to keep pressing and changing shit.
No man, I think the Kloppies are lekker. It's like
it's very futuristic.
Every guy must have had one of those what do they call those things? Those old khaki pants with all the pockets. How legend was
Yo,
that?
that
It's
is
the same with the car.
awesome. Yeah, it's like
I think guys just in general like Knoppies.
Yeah, and it's like a multi-tool, and you feel like you're in a spaceship. You feel like in one of those movies, like a Fast and the Furious movie. You flip a switch and push that.
These ones, this is the best. It should have had switches.
Yeah, it should have had switches here, eh? Like a little spaceship, like
Luke Skywalker. Or something.
Yo, that's awesome. I must say, guys, I can't. I would really love to be, how can I say, critical, but I can't find anything to be critical of.
I can show you some critical stuff. if you check just behind the steering wheel,
Okay.
normal cars have like this plastic or whatever covering.
nice
This
plastic
one has
cover.
just got a piece of leather that they like very cheaply.
Okay, so they didn't try and put a piece of plastic to cover that up. There's just a leather boot there, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
To cover all the cabling and nonsense.
And those kinds of things. All right, so that's about one thing I can pick up. You got your very similar style interior and dash with these plastics of nowadays. Wow,
Your
they should
pothole
really-
in
Goodwood potholes is the greatest. They try and dig them deep here. They try and go really deep with these potholes.
I think they were looking for diamonds in the one we just passed through.
No, that's crazy. Wow, check that exhaust pipe on that Fiesta.
That's definitely
That's
not
like-
stock standard.
No, that is not stock. Dude, that is like a trash can on that thing. That exhaust was probably about that big, guys. No
It looks like
jokes.
they evacuated immigrants out of it.
Like I was saying before, if you're really looking into getting a Focus, I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. I think the 2007, you've driven my 2007 before, and it was, I mean,
Very cool car.
that and this one, I don't think you can go wrong with any of these Focuses, any of the Fiestas even.
If I had the choice though, if there was a good model of the 2007 one, I like the box shape.
You like
much
the,
better.
You like
much,
the 2007 shape better.
Yeah.
You've always been a fan of that. I mean, we always used to drool over the 2007, the RS, that lime green,
the green one.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
the
lime
Incredible
green.
Hulk.
Yeah, the Incredible Hulk. That was the all-wheel drive RS, and that thing was amazing.
No, that thing was legit.
That thing was a beast. We always used to drool over those when we used to see them. They weren't much around. But when you see them in the movies and games and videos and those kinds of things, we always said, "Oh, that's
the one."
That's maybe one of the main reasons I actually went out and got a Focus like that, because
Really?
yeah, I've always wanted one. The STs are just super expensive, so I rather just went. It was finances at the time. I rather just went for the 1600. But I wasn't disappointed. It really banged for its buck. Just nice to have when you need a vehicle. It's a get in and go car. It never really gave any problems. I haven't picked up any problems with that car in the, I think, 3 years that I had it.
And yeah, that's actually, to be honest with you, a lot of people are always giving Ford a lot of slack about the reliability and stuff. But I mean, your car was amazingly performed every single day.
I never had any issues. I could get in and go.
And this one's never given me issues except self-inflicted stuff.
Touch wood. I mean, this thing I don't think is going to give you any issues for years to come. And I think she's really one of those cars that if you go out and you get yourself one of these, you'll be really impressed with it. I don't think you would find anything, how can I say, that you would be upset about. Wow, I just really amazing drive. I really enjoyed the drive. And yeah, like I said, guys, if you're going to get yourself one of these, I mean, try and get one that's got the leather interior like this one, because the leather interior is just really nice to have. It will probably get a bit warm in summer when you start,
think it does,
when you start sticking to it, but it just looks nice.
I had to even get one of those what do they call those things that shield the inside?
Oh yes, the sunscreen,
those sunscreen protectors.
Yeah.
Sure, even the steering wheel will get the dashboard,
but also you don't want direct sunlight on these leather interiors anyway. They tend to crack up and start making little lines and cracks in. Just let me get this window up, because we are on a main road, so a lot of noise. But yeah, thanks again.
Well, thanks for having me. And then when I get my next car, then you're more than welcome to
sure, that'll be great. That'll be great.
Knowing me, it'll be sooner rather than later.
You want something new already?
No, it's just that they tend not to last as long, because I'm not the greatest driver.
Well, anyway, thanks a lot for bringing the car out. It was really awesome. Thanks. Anyway, guys, if you like the video, there is more on its way, more to come. I thought I'd just do a car review today. Didn't have much planned. Thanks again to Jaron for pulling his car through. I was like, I need to do a review on your car, and he's like, sure, why not?
What a chilling's for.
What a chilling's for. Yeah, so sorted. We got a review out of it, and then yeah, some content for you guys. So if you enjoyed the video, drop a thumbs up, drop a comment down below what you think of the car, what you think of the shape, if you like the 2007 shape better, because we both agree we like that shape better. But this car, I really can't, like I say, find fault with the shape. If it looked ugly, I would say it looked ugly. It doesn't look ugly. And everything else, the interior and the way it drives, and the transmission and the acceleration and everything just about it is really well put together. People always give like I say, Ford a lot of slack, and say that you know, they're always breaking down and those kinds of things.
First on the rubbish dump.
On the rubbish dump, they say, yeah. But I've been a Ford fan my whole life, and like I said, all the Fords I have, I don't know if I look after them well or not, but I haven't had any issues with them whatsoever. So
to be fair, you do have a lot of OCD.
Yeah, that's also true. So that might be the thing, but I think if you look after them, they'll treat you well back as well. And like I said, this car's got a lot of good years still to come, and yeah, very impressed with it, very impressed. My first time driving one of these as well, and I'll say I'm super impressed. But anyway, guys, that's it for today's video. We'll definitely see if I can make some more content, bring new content out next week. See if I can bring I'm trying to organize some more car reviews and so forth. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Ride in the Reaper. Peace out.
Cheers, guys.